Hey, what up, man?
Welcome.
Alper, hey, welcome.
Hi everyone.
Merhaba, merhaba.
Merhaba Artenis.
Merhaba.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
Nice to meet you too as well.
Yeah,
It's,
thank
it's,
you.
al- it's
Thank
always
you.
nice and very inspirational, like when you see like young lawyers like yourself just going in the big zone and just like living the life like with the suits and everything. It's pretty inspiring, really. Yeah. Well, thank you again, both of you, for being here. It's a great honor and pleasure to talk with two of my esteemed colleagues from Istanbul, Avukat Abdullah Erkam Yılmaz and Avukat Alper Otluoğlu, if I get it right.
Yes.
Thank you very much for being here, and I hope that we'll have a very nice discussion where we will share some interesting perspectives and insights on the currently in the developing legal world, and particular emphasis on Turkey. If I may make a little introduction about yourselves, I'll start with my good friend Erkam. He finished his LLM and LLM at Istanbul. He's currently a lawyer there, specialized in the area of data protection, IT, intellectual property, domain name law, freelance law, and I had the great honor. Yep. And I had the great honor and privilege to meet him in the Straniak Academy, organized by the University of Vienna. It's a great pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much. And
You're welcome.
Mr. Alper as well. He is also in the more classical areas of law, like civil law, criminal law, real estate, alternative dispute resolution. Very fascinating field. So thank you very much for being here. And I hope we'll have a very interesting discussion. So whichever one of you would like to start, how difficult is to practice law in Turkey at the moment? We know that there's a lot of things going on, the economy, the lira, it has taken some headline news internationally. So as a lawyer, what should someone expect in terms of partners and in terms of profession, really? Like how do you guys do it there?
Yeah, first of all, Artenis, it's our pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting us to this project, and we are really happy to share our experiences and to share our strategies, etc., and the things going on in Turkey. So the first thing, law is hard, as it's an international reality, because there are many critical issues going on in the law. The society, the culture, and also the politics are affecting the law. So if you are a lawyer, you need to deal with all of them. You have to know the communication of your society. You have to know the culture of your society. You have to know the basis of the politics which affects the area that you are dealing with. So this is a harmonization of all of them. So as a lawyer in Turkey, we are struggling many things. For example, the clients while communicating them, because there is an economic crisis right now in Turkey. So the payment is important. The talking about the law is important, because there are some effects of the politics to the law, of course, because it's a reality of the world. So the struggles that we deal with in Turkey are these, but we build up our Otluoğlu Yılmaz law firm with my partner Alper. While we are building our firm, we focused on the course. We focus on the rules. What kind of rules that we can implement in our law firm? For example, we put some rules that regulates the client relations, that regulates the payment relations, etc. But besides all of them, the most important point is the social capability, actually. Yes, when you are a lawyer, you can know everything. You can know the all international conventions, your own legislations. You can see yourself as an expert in all fields of the law. That's impossible. But if you see yourself like that, the client does not understand about these issues. The client just come to your office and want to talk with you because there are some problematic issues in the law. So while he or she is talking to you, she or he wants to see you he or he wants to see you listening her or his problems about the issue and how you listen, how you take care, how you answer, how you respond. So these are the issues that we focus
usually,
on.
he and she wants the guarantee.
Yes, and also we always answer them, respond them with the answer of there is no guarantee in the law because that's that's against the nature of the law. We always say this, but the client's perspective want to see the guarantee because there is a problem here, and as a lawyer you have to solve it. But the authorization of the lawyers are limited as in all over the world because the judges who decide. So you can put the arguments, you can collect the documents, you can prepare everything well, but it can go wrong. So that's the nature of the law. There is no guarantee. So in Turkey, we deal with the clients. I talked about the clients because clients are the center for these kind of issues. If it's a corporate issue, there can be some more difficulties. For example, they will build up a startup in a different country, but we are a law firm which based in Istanbul and which we know Turkish law, etc. But in our team, we are also focused on the different law areas. For example, one of our clients is based in the USA, one of their firm is based in the USA, and we also focus on the Delaware law, for example, as we talked before this part. So this is the issue, and this is how the things going on in Turkey. But there are many detailed questions as far as I guess. So when you ask them, I can answer, or Alper also can answer these questions.
All right. Just to involve Alper a little bit, can you tell me a little bit like what are the areas of law that your firm practices, you together with Erkam, and what are some of the main areas that you guys specialize on, and how's that experience been going so far?
Firstly, I agree with my partner is Erkam. Totally, he talked truly. Firstly, if you worked in Turkey by the lawyer, you have to be a knight, and you have to be fight. As I say, Erkam, clients wants to us guarantee, and so economics problems and social problems and clients and usually people and clients wants the guarantee. Sometimes it's a hard things for us. Copy that. So finally, you have to be fight, and you have to be knight for the clients. All of things.
Also, Alper, by the way, is specialized in the area of criminal law and the administrative law. Actually, he understands the reality of the economics because of his background. Because he was in the before his lawyership, his law field, he was in the field of the commercial side.
The expectation that is from the client's perspective, right? You have to be someone who gives you guarantees and it gives you these sort of insight into the future. If one can argue like that. But how difficult is to practice law in terms of the court system? We know many in the Balkans, for example, the issue of corruption and the problems of implementing an efficient rule of law system has been a stark issue of debate. We currently in the Balkans, we have launched a series of judicial reforms that are meant to clean the system from these corrupt justices, if we can put it like that. Does Turkey have a similar system, and what is its current rule of law progression trajectory? We know in terms of its democracy, there are issues which go on, but I mean, you guys practice law there every day. How difficult is to deliver justice in your cases? How free are the courts there from these sorts of influences?
The rule of law is important, and it's written in our constitution. And we are also, as Turkey, the Republic of Turkey, is a part of the European conventions, many of them, and also part of the many international conventions which regulates the fundamental human rights, right, and also the other rights. So rule of law is the main issue in Turkey. But of course, by depending on the economy, depending on the society, it affects the law itself. So when the politics are the matter, politics can affect the society, affect the law system, because we as humans, we decide the law. So when a judge see a case, he just comments with his own background. Maybe we don't know. There are some rules, but there is an effective measures that he is affected or she is affected while looking at the case.
Right.
So in the written constitution, there are many articles that regulate the rule of law, the human dignity, etc., etc. There are many things, but as lawyers, we can say that the main issue here, normally the lawyers, judges, and the prosecutors are the main elements, and they are equals before they are the equals before the judicial system. So the problem in Turkey, I think, and also my partner will think like that and will agree with me, the inequality between these three main elements. Because in Turkey, the judges and the prosecutors are supported by the state itself, because they are seen as the state elements, but the lawyers are the kind of problem elements, because they are always suing something, they are always objecting something, they are trying to protect the rights of the citizens of the Turkish people. So citizens of the Turkey, not just Turkish people, there are many ethnicity and there are many citizens living in Turkey. So the lawyers are seen like that. So the main problem in here, the ones who need it to be equal are not equal. So the main problem comes from this, and actually that's a result of some of the problems. So the first thing that we need to focus as Turkey, we need to focus on the equality between these three elements, because when we take care, when we give support to the lawyers, for example, their right to collect data, their right to collect proofs on behalf of their clients or something like that, or their right to give a stamp to a document and make it authenticated, make it publicly right, make it like a notarized document or something like that. So we need to focus on this, because Turkey has many problems to overcome, and one of them and both of and all of them depends on this in the judicial system. So the main problem is this.
Oh, right.
And what can I say more? I don't know right now.
Okay.
For example, today we went to the justice court. We went to the court and the prosecution office, and we tried to collect some information about our clients, because our clients need some results about the issue, because there are many people who are how can I say
whatever comes to mind, no problem.
Yeah, who are the victim, actually, I can say. Who are the victim of the crime. So but the prosecutor was not in there. He was in holiday or something like that. I don't know. So because of his own personal points, our case is affected. So that's a problem. Normally in a system which not depending on the people, it should have been like that. For example, when we went to the prosecution office, there should be some.
Should have been there at the very least.
yeah, there should be also some prosecutors, more prosecutors who deal with these cases. So the case will not depend on just one prosecutor. So that's another problem. The system which built depending on the person itself, people itself. There should be a system which need to be more stable, which is out of the personality or one of the prosecution or something.
Yeah.
So that's another problem.
All right, Alper, you've been dealing with a lot of transaction law, civil law. I guess you can share a little bit insight. How easy is to conduct business in Turkey? Suppose you're an international firm. You would like to open a branch in Istanbul, for example. Do they have commercial courts? And what is the usual timeline of a case? Suppose you have some issues with your partners, something like that. What's the usual timeline of a court case? How easy is to conduct business in Turkey right now, from your perspective as a lawyer? What are the bureaucracies? Is it things of that nature?
Bureaucracies.
Are there a lot of bureaucracies that you need to go through?
Bureaucracy and the justice system in Turkish justice system is blocking the Turkish lawyers usually. It's a very big problem for us and for them. As say Erkam once, you went to court and you can't find the prosecutor.
Maybe I can add something, Alper, if you want. As Alper said, the timeline is also very long, Artenis, because when you apply to the court, while the local court decides something, there had been maybe 3 years or 2 years or something like that. So when the local court decides on the first judgment, and after that, if you are not happy with the result, you go to the upper side and you go to the appeal, and the last appeal is the Court of Kasserel, which is called Yargıtay here. The Yargıtay decides the High Court, not
Court
the
of
High
Cassation.
Court. Yeah, Court of Cassation, and there is also the Constitution Court. Yeah, the High Court is the Yargıtay, and there is also upper version of it, the Constitution Court. Maybe it's similar in your country, in European countries. So the timeline is long. That's a big problem, and also the bureaucracy that we told. There are many things that you need to deal with. There are many people that you have to contact. For example, when you call these people, you cannot reach them, so you have to go physically to go there, because and also Turkey is a crowded country. There is 82 millions of people living in Turkey. So it's a high number. So the people are trying to reach the justice, and also it's also understandable because it's not a country just deals with a few of the cases, etc. Because we are a big country, so we are a crowded country. So there are many cases, many types of cases, many types of disputes. So these are the things that the judges also deal with. So so when you call, you cannot reach them because also they are trying to focus on the other cases, and they are trying to solve their problems, etc. So yes, there is a bureaucracy problem, but also there is an understandable reason about it. Yes, there are some effects, there are some bad effects of the politics, but they are also struggling to digitalize the law system and the law society. So in Turkey, for example, when we are open a case, we just put our signature, electronic signature, to our computers. We just sign the documents and send it to the court via digital. So that's also which
nice.
we call UYAP, which is called in Turkey all lawyers know this name, UYAP. So when we use this, for example, that's a really complex, that's a really comfort zone. So that creates a comfort zone for us. But of course, there are some problems that arose from the crowded country, arose from the other bureaucratic problems and the politics. But there are also some good things that we have to say, because, for example, digitalization is important. For example, we can participate in the courts via just like a system, just like Skype or something like that.
Oh, right. You can participate like Zoom and Skype in the court.
Yes, just like this. For example, you are the judge right now, and we are the lawyers, and we defend ourselves in the courts. So, that depends on the wishes. If you wish to do so, and the judges is okay, so you can go on the court like that. So these are the good things. The digitalization is going on in Turkey, and I think Turkey is really a progressive country about the digitalization, because the state has to do it, because otherwise there will be a burden of the cases which are not solved. So that's a problem of the society, because the people are saying, what about my case, my lawyer? So how is everything going? But when we say them, yes, your case is in the same place where you left. So
still pending.
That's a problem for them. So it's a pending issue. So the digitalization is important, and Turkey is doing well about it.
I noticed that you have a very particular niche when it comes to your specialized field, like data protection law, IT law. Technology in the last 10, 20 years has very much changed the background of how we interact with the world. I wanted to know how easy it is for a lawyer to practice in IT there, filing an intellectual property law application, for example, and then to go on with these domain name law and freelance law there. These seem very innovative, very new, developing areas of law. So as an expert in that, what would be your thoughts there? Where's Turkey going on with this process? And if you can share a thought, let's say, on the wider Balkans, if you have more awareness on this particular area of law.
So the data protection and also the other kinds of the innovative law fields are also arising from the rule of law, because if you have right to privacy, if your constitution regulates the right to privacy, then you have the data protection law, because it's a specific version of this constitutional right. So in our constitution, there are many rights, the fundamental right. For example, one of them is the right to privacy, which is regulated under our Turkish Republic, Constitution of Turkish Republic. So arising from this field, we have a data protection law, which is adopted by the first version of the GDPR, because Turkey is also adopts the law which the EU regulates. So because we are trying to catch the legal system of the EU, because our businessmen, our business people are dealing, they are doing commerce, they are doing business with the EU countries, and that affects the law itself, because when an EU country, when one of the company, for example, if it's an advertising, I know La Roche-Posay, if wants to invest in a startup in Turkey, they just want to know, do you have a data protection policy or something like that? Because that affects the investment, because GDPR regulates this area, and they had to deal with this issue. So while investing, it affects the law itself. So Turkey had to enact such a laws. So that's a result of this policy, and that's a result of this strategy. So we have data protection law, and it's a good law, I think, from this perspective. While implementing this law, there are many problems arising. For example, there can be some strict. Actually, the understandable point is important in this technical issue. For example, while we are trying to tell people what is the data protection, what is the data processing, for example, they had some difficulties to understand it, because that's a kind of difficult issue. That's not the thing when you write on the paper, for example. That's a data process issue. Yes, that's a data process issue too. But when you write the names, for example, on the paper, that's a data processing stage. But that's not so easy. For example, while we are doing Zoom, so that's data. That's about the data protection law, because we are transferring our face, our voice, and etc. to Zoom, for example, whose servers are in different countries than Turkey. So that affects the law itself, because transferring data is just can be done under the data owner consent, and there are some other rules, for example, the contractual basis, etc., etc. Just like in GDPR, but GDPR is more different than our law, because we adopted the first version of the GDPR, but GDPR is in the second now. So the technical difficulties are something that we face, because when we are trying to tell the people, they are not able to understand what we are talking about.
They open like a business. Let's say you open a business, right? And they don't necessarily have the awareness that they need to comply with data protection laws. They often end up plagiarizing many content in their own websites and things like that. So normally in the world, you get sued for these kinds of activities. Like if you plagiarize and you get their content, they sue you in court, and they make a lot of money.
So actually, I think when you say it, it popped up my mind, because one of my clients said, can't we just plagiarize the others and put our website, for example, the cookie policy, for example? I said no, of course, because that should be specifically between you and law, because you are a different data processor. So you need to focus on which data you are collecting from your potential clients, etc. So you have to focus on which cookies that you use in your website. So that's not a content that you can take from someone else's and put your website. So you need to focus on the details. For example, which data, how you take it. So the methods that you take it. So how you enlighten your clients, how you do your notice obligation to your clients, for example, because there should be a notification while processing data. It's also under the GDPR too. So while building a business, they should focus on the legal. There should be a legal budget. Yes, the legal systems maybe force them to do this, and that can be something bad for. That can come bad. That sounds bad for the business people. But if they focus on the preventive legal services, the preventive legal services can cost less than the problems that they can face in the future. So that's a core that the startups, the other business people needed to focus. So data processing is in everywhere. For example, when we talk a client who is selling some wet wipes or something like that, he was not aware about the data protection law. But while we are preparing a contract between this person, between our client and the other person, we put some articles about the data protection, because that's about the awareness. We put a legal shield before our clients. So data protection is in everywhere. It's not a kind of area that just micro niche. It's a kind of widener, because while we are buying something or via e-commerce, for example, that's a data protection law issue. That's a data processing issue besides the contract of sales. Because when you look up the contract of sales, you see some data protection notice there. You see some articles in which is stricted in the paragraphs.
Cookies, except cookies, all cookies.
Yeah, except cookies or something. Yes, and also there are some articles in the contracts. Right now, as lawyers, we try to put some articles in the contracts that our clients use. So we just want them not to be punished by the authorities of the data protection officers. So this is the important issue that the lawyers and the business people needed to focus.
That's excellent. Alper, one of his areas of expertise is alternative dispute resolutions. And why I mentioned that, because alternative dispute resolutions are a very, very good way, as you rightly said. Many of the court systems are overloaded, and sometimes it just takes a lot of time to process things going. And alternative dispute resolution is a very good method to avoid the hurdles of a court system, which, whether you like it or not, sometimes it doesn't depend on you on the outcome, right? So there's a lot of factors that are taken in consideration. I don't know does he have experience with, has he written articles, for alternative dispute resolutions in Turkey? And because alternative dispute resolution and IP law, these are very internationally relevant areas of law where I think, let's say you are from Turkey, but you can also very well be useful here in Albania, let's say, or somewhere else, in disputing between two companies who are having conflict, let's say, on their data privacy systems and violations. So I don't know if Alper can share a thought on it.
Yargı sisteminin yıllarca birikmesinden dolayı alternatif uyuşmazlık çözüm yollarına olan ihtiyaç artıyor. Bunlardan dolayı hakkını aramak isteyen insanlar alternatif uyuşmazlık çözüm yollarına başvurmaya daha da hevesliler. Uzmanların yer alması, yani uzman kişilerin yargıda birebir görev alması, hızlı ve etkin çözüm olması.
So I want to add something. As you know, we are also dealing with the intellectual property law, which is reflected in the WIPO system, Worldwide Intellectual Organization, which is dealing with the intellectual property issues. There is a WIPO system that we focus in our areas, and also the domain name disputes, which is resulted in the ICANN disputes. And WIPO is one of the authorized arbitration system by the ICANN. So WIPO and ICANN are integrated. And also we have arbitration center in Turkey, Istanbul Arbitration Center, which is a corporate arbitration system. So the people who want to deal their issues in the arbitration, they put up a clause in their contract. Normally it is placed, and normally we see it's placed at the end of the contract. It's written like that: all disputes will be resulted in the Istanbul Arbitration Center, etc. So that's the arbitration clause that we see. And there is also a popular one worldwide, the London Arbitration Center, of course. But Istanbul is a new one, but trying their best. And this arbitration system is also really effective, I think, for the companies who have the budget for this kind of disputes. For example, if there is a contract of affairsment, for example, it's the contract of the ship owners and the other things, for example. This is a huge issue for the law. So because there are some goods which cost maybe millions of dollars. So this kind of arbitration can be effective. And also we have mediation.
Because also Istanbul has the Strait of Marmara, where millions of tons of goods go by. And
yes, but actually that's important. The strategic location of the Istanbul geographical location is important, but the people are needed to put up this clause to their contract. Otherwise, the Istanbul Arbitration Center cannot deal with these issues.
So they don't have the awareness of it. So they don't put these contractual clauses into their initial agreement. So they end up then wasting their time in court, if we can put it that way. Yeah.
Yes, so they have to put such a clause in their contracts. And that's the arbitration side. And also there is a mediation side. we have a compulsory mediation for specific cases in Turkey. That's not an effective way, but that's a compulsory, mandatory mediation. It's maybe against its nature, I don't know, but we have a
similar thing.
Mediation.
Yeah, we also have a similar.
So you understand me
it's
better.
Usually just used as a bypassing procedure. Nobody really puts that much importance into it.
Yes.
But if it works right, it would probably alleviate 60% of
actually,
all cases.
Yes, mediation system are, I think, effective one. But when you make it mandatory, that's against its nature, because it shouldn't be like that, because the people needed to be aware while mediating. But if you put them in a room and make them to agree on something, that mostly resulted negative. So, for example, when you will open a commercial case in Turkey, you have to go to the mediation side first. Then when you open a case which can be resulted with the compensation in the intellectual property, for example, you have to go to the mediation center. So this is the issue. But the dispute resolution, we believe in dispute resolution, and we also see that it is making the local it is eliminating the local system. So it is making the universe international. So when, for example, we can have clients from different countries in the arbitration. So that's a good issue for lawyers, of course. And I think the dispute resolutions and specifically the arbitration is the future of the legal system because of the burden of the cases in the normal states court. So I think the arbitration should be more focused by lawyers. We see that there is a future in there because we have many clients who have problems, for example. The freelancer law, for example, we focus on this too. For example, the freelancers in Turkey are selling their services through Upwork or TopTal or something like that, or Fiverr, the platforms, the freelancer platform. So when you look at the contracts of the Upwork platform, you see that there is an arbitration clause there. You see there is an arbitration clause there. So you have also right to reject this arbitration in 60 days. When you become a member, but no one knows it, so automatically you accept
terms of agreement, accept.
Yes. So after 60 days, there will be no problem, and you will have to arbitrate. So if you cannot take your money, for example, as a freelancer in Upwork, you have to go to the arbitration. So you have to go to the lawyers, Turkish lawyers, for example. I don't know. I'm talking about the Turkey. So Turkish lawyers who can go to arbitration. So that's also a qualification issue. So we also need to focus on these kind of futuristic things, and the potential legal system needs the ideal legal system needs the arbitration and also the other dispute resolution system for an effective and faster justice.
That's wonderful. I don't know which either you or Alper can share a little bit insight into this. Turkey started a long time ago EU integration process, and that EU integration. So we're dwelling a little bit into politics because ultimately, the law is a byproduct of politics in some sense. It started this integration process in the EU. However, it has stopped. It's been quite a while now that it has stopped. In the Balkans, usually a lot of legislation, many of the domestic, like Balkan countries' legislation, they're very avidly adopting EU norms, acquis communautaire laws, very avidly. So every time there is a new regulation, there is a new EU directive on, let's say, data protection, presumably, or IP, or you name it, real estate, we are very keen to immediately incorporate it into our domestic system. And that obviously affects even the judgments of, let's put it, the Constitutional Court. I want to know whether Turkey has sort of moved to its own direction, so developing its own understanding of the doctrines and the legal systems, or it continues to base its laws from European legislation. And so I don't know which one of you can share a little bit insight, because, for example, Turkey is a member of the European Convention of Human Rights. and a lot of cases are which direct Turkey, and there are a lot of international agreements which bind Turkey to certain legal standards. And I don't know how that has materialized within its domestic system. Suppose there are some violation on human rights issues, and the European Court of Human Rights says, well, Turkey needs to change this XY law to adapt to the new EU norms. This is more like your thought as a lawyer, really. Like, what do you think it's the trajectory going for the Turkish law in the next 10, 15 years? Like, is it going closer to the European framework, or is it going to developing its own unique interpretations of the law, essentially?
Değil, şu anda hiç de öngörülebilir bir durum değil. Biz istiyoruz ki Avrupa İnsan Hakları Hukuku'nun ana rota olarak belirlenmesi ve o yönde gelişimlerin sağlanması. Ama ne olacağı konusunda hiç kimse fikir değil. Sadece seçimleri beklemek lazım gibi bir şey söylememiz lazım. Böyle düşünüyorum.
I also agree with the Alper. It's not so predictable from the point that we sit on our chairs, because when we look at the Turkish politics, there is an election coming right now. After 1 year, there will be an election in Turkey. So that affects everything, because politics look at the law, but they also look at the society. So if the popular trends are tending outside of the Europe, the politicians tend to talk about on behalf of the society, on behalf of the popular things. So the politics are this, but as lawyers, we want, of course, we want a Turkey which adopts the EU laws. But actually, we want a Turkey which enacts its own laws, its own constitution, own legal system, its own specific laws and legislation. But of course, there should be a soul of the European human rights or something like that, because there is an accumulation of the human rights which are regulated under the European Convention of Human Rights, so or the other conventions. Of course, we want our own systems. We don't want to be the EU directive shouldn't be a binding effect on Turkey, because in Turkey it's understood as a sovereignty issue, so domination issue. So if you say as a lawyer or as a normal people in Turkey, yes, we just want to take all laws which are regulated in the EU, that will be a vice versa effect, that will be a reverse effect to you, because it is understood as a domination issue, a sovereignty issue, but it's not about sovereignty normally. But when we talk about the laws, of course, we have to extract something from the EU legislations, because it regulates, the regulations under EU cannot be against the European Convention of Human Rights, of course. So when we are extracting the legislation, when we are enacting new laws, we have to benefit from these laws, these conventions, etc. But of course, Turkey should find its own strategy and its own legislation system. But if the Turkey wants to join the EU membership, if the Turkey wants a membership of
suppose
the EU,
there's a political change, a political shift of currents.
If it happens, I don't think right now, maybe after 10 years, maybe 20 years, I don't know. But if it happens, of course, the directive and the regulations, of course, will have a binding effect on the legislation of the Turkey. But if Turkey wants to make business with the European countries, of course, the legal system should be adopted, as we talked about before, the investing, the other kind of contracts, etc. Because our exportation and importation are mostly from Europe. For example, we sell many vegetables, many car parts, and many other kind of goods and services. We sell them to the European countries. So European countries are important element, are important actor for Turkey. So while making politics, they also focus on this issue, because always money and the economy speaks first. So if someone legislate something, they take care of the business too. They take care of the other issues too, because business means labor. Labor means the other things, and it affects the society itself. So while the populist talking is done, actually it doesn't give food, it doesn't give labor to the society of the people. So there should be a of course principle of reality. And there is a reality here, and also the politicians should also focus on the reality of the society while making new laws. But as lawyers, we really appreciate the European Court of Human Rights, of course, because it affects our law itself. So while we are opening case, for example, we do some plagiarism of the paragraphs of a case, etc.
That's what you can use it, let's say, in a court brief, but you cannot, you cannot, let's say, cite it as a legal basis. For example, in Albania, there was a constitutional decision which forbade quoting directly the European Convention as a source for raising a claim in the court systems. Rather, you had to use a domestic law as a base for your claim, right? Whether that be criminal or civil. So I believe the same thing. We can obviously we can use the conventions as in our briefs, in our preparation, in our documents as lawyers, but we cannot strictly rely on these international documents. So that as you rightly set out, it's that element of sovereignty which still retains its form and its essence in these manners. Yeah.
Actually, in our constitution, under the Article 90, there is an article clause in here which says if the international conventions which regulates the human rights, fundamental human rights, it is upper than the constitution itself. So there is an article in the Turkish constitution that. So European Convention of Human Rights is upper than the constitution itself in some cases, in the fundamental human rights. So when we are opening a case, of course, we can base our
It's very
arguments.
advanced, actually. That's actually very...
Yes, in the written format of the constitution, there are many good things. We love our legislations, but the implementation, the practice is important.
Is the problem.
Yeah, the problem is arising from the practice itself, but there are many good and effective legislation, even though in our constitution, which accepts the fundamental, the European Convention or our fundamental human rights convention are upper than our laws itself. So when we are opening a case, we quote some paragraphs from the cases of the European Convention because it is enlightening our way. It's a roadmap or it's something like that. But we have many, of course, cases from our constitutional court. There is a court system in Turkey. You can apply to the when you open a case to the local court, you go to the appeal, and then you go to the Court of Cassation, then you go to the constitutional court, and but you go by individually, and that's a good issue. For example, that's a new system. Actually, it's 2015, I think, or 2013. It is enacted such a system for the catching up the EU system. So you can go to the in the same in Albania maybe.
Yeah,
so
we adopted in the new reform in 2016 a similar one. Right?
Yes, it's also one of the EU reform, EU and Turkey reform. So you can go to the constitutional court by yourself, by an individual. And there is also another alternative. The political parties in the parliament, they can go to the constitutional court to cancel some of the legislations of something like that. So there is two kind of version to apply to the constitutional court. I said this because there are many decisions, many judgment of the constitutional court which are parallel to the EU directives, EU case law. So when we put a quote from EU law, of course, it depends on the judge that our case is on. But it's a quote, it's a reference which binds all judges, which binds all things. But of course, there are some problems in the practice. Do you have rules which prevents the advertising for lawyers in your bar association?
No, we can just go as hard as you can. Go as hard as you can. We're like
in Turkey, it's prohibited to advertise for lawyers. For example, we cannot give a Google adverts advertising, or we cannot give a social media marketing advertising, etc. So these are prohibited. Yeah, but not strictly implemented. The
enforced
punishments.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is enforced. It is enforced. It is the law which says it's prohibited. But of course, it's not strictly forced by the maybe bar, the constellation of the bar. So that's a problem for Turkish lawyers, by the way.
Thank you very much, Alper. And again, Erkam, it's a great pleasure. And I really hope we will have more sessions on the go. We want to focus, let's say, on more specific issues the next time we meet. And then we share a little bit more particular advices and insights. This was just meant as a general introduction. And I think it's going to be very exciting. And I hope it will ignite a sort of spark and interaction between us as colleagues in the profession.
Yeah. Thank you, Artenis, first of all, to inviting us there. We are really happy to be here and to share our experiences. We also want to continue with the other sessions of this project. It's a really nice and fertile podcast for the people who are interested in legal systems and the professionals who deal with the legal issues. So thank you again. See you in the next sessions then.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
We will be in touch.
You're welcome.
We'll be in touch. Thank you very much. And I wish you
You're welcome. See you.
Great evening. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.